Ukraine is under relentless fire. Russia has increased the intensity of attacks. Ukrainian front lines are collapsing as Kyiv begs for weapons. Europe is split down the middle. Germany and France are clashing over buying US weapons for Ukraine. President Macron wants to halt the weapons supply to Ukraine, arguing that European security should be top priority. Here's a report.
Thunderous explosions and the scream of missiles and drones are the permanent terror in Ukraine. Russia has unleashed a brutal, unstoppable aerial blitz, hammering energy grids and military hubs into submission with relentless precision. Kyiv residents are forced to stay in tents in sub-zero temperatures, living and sleeping under constant terror.
To be honest, I am not afraid of cold. It is not scary to get cold. I am afraid of the enemy and the shelling. Because of the cold, I don't want to do anything. Here you can talk to people, support each other, charge our devices.
We are already on the 6th day. On Friday, the attack happened, and since that night, we have had no heating, no water, no light. We can only have light at night. This night, it was from 1 o'clock in the morning until 4 in the morning. The water was cold. There is no heating at all.
On the front lines, the situation is even more dire. Russian forces are making rapid gains, forcing the emergency evacuation of children from frontline villages in Zaporizhia. Kyiv is hitting back. A daring drone strike recently ignited a massive fire in Russia's Rostov. But the sheer weight of Moscow's offensive is pushing the defenders to the absolute brink. Ukraine says it needs air defense systems, artillery shells and missiles now, not months later. Every delay costs territory. Every shortage costs lives. But just as the pressure peaks, France has slammed the brakes. Paris is blocking Ukraine from using a proposed $104 billion financing mechanism to buy American weapons. France wants the portion earmarked for arms to be spent only within Europe's defense industry. A move framed as strengthening European strategic autonomy. Germany is uneasy. Eastern European states are alarmed, and Ukraine is nervous. Ukraine officials warn that limiting access to US weapons could slow deliveries at a critical moment, weakening defenses just as Russia presses harder. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
Joining us now on the broadcast from Berlin, Germany is Mr. Ben Aris. He's the founder and editor-in-chief of BNE IntelliNews and also the former Moscow bureau chief for the Daily Telegraph. Mr. Aris, it's good to see you and thank you very much for your time. France is blocking Ukraine from using a proposed $104 billion financing mechanism to buy American weapons. France wants the portion earmarked for the arms to be spent only within Europe's defense industry. I want your reaction to that.
This is an unseemly argument over money that Ukraine is losing on the battlefield, that the Russians are making advances, and particularly the air defense. They're running out of ammunition. The skies are open, and Russia is raining down increasing numbers, hundreds of drones, coupled together with powerful ballistic missiles that are destroying the energy infrastructure. Kyiv, half the city, has been plunged into darkness just as temperatures fall below -20. And Zelensky's getting very desperate. He needs ammunition now. He needs it straight away. He called last week for the Europeans to open their warehouses and dig into their stockpiles to supply. But France here is pushing back. In December, a 90 billion euro loan was agreed, and that was going to be to support Ukraine for at least 2 years and keep it in the war. But the problem is that up until now, most of the ammunition and arms that Ukraine has been receiving, and here the Patriot missile ammunition is key, because that's the air defenses that will, keep the cities safe, has come from the States. And at the same time, Europe desperately needs to modernize its own army. So the idea has been to spend up to 800 billion on rearming Europe and modernizing its military over the next 4 years. But here's the first chunk of money that's actually available. And Macron in particular is insisting that money be spent in Europe. And France, of course, has a very large defense industry. It would be a big winner. Germany too, the UK too. And rather than spend the money on this ammunition and get it from the States right away and bolster the American defense sector, Macron is sort of strategically saying that we should take the money and spend it in Europe. But the problem with that is the European defense industry is not in a state where it can supply Ukraine quickly. It would take months and months, if not years in some cases, to provide things that they need in Ukraine. And particularly, Europe doesn't produce Patriot missile ammunition. And that's really at the top of the agenda. That needs to come now. And the only way to get that is to buy it from America.
Mr. Aris, this next question is two questions in one. First of all, Ukrainian officials are warning that limiting access to U.S. weapons could slow deliveries at a critical moment. And this is the second question. Do you feel that the attention on Ukraine and Russia has now decimated? It has shifted because we're now talking about Iran and Greenland.
That's a huge problem. To deal with the second question first, that Ukraine, the whole situation was being distracted by, there was a war in the Middle East last summer and that distracted. But now all attention is switched to Iran.
We'll try to connect to Mr. Ben Aris a little later, but if he gets this, thank you very much for talking to us today.